The Witch in the Window is a 2018 supernatural horror drama written and directed by Andy Mitton, who directed Yellowbrick Road, and it stars Alex Draper and Charlie Tacker as Simon and Finn, who are father and son respectively. The plot centralises around Finn accompanying his father to an old farmhouse in Vermont, which they intend to flip, to renovate it and sell on for profit. On arrival, they meet their new neighbour, who fills them in on the history of the house, and it soon becomes apparent there's a hostile presence there, and things start to go downhill. Now, there are scares. It's a horror film. There are things that genuinely scared me and unsettled me about this film, which I'll go into a bit later, but at its core, it's very much a family drama exploring the dynamic between parent and child, and the relationship between the two central characters is brought to life with real warmth by the leads. I think the highest compliment I can pay them is to say that they completely convinced me of their characters' love for one another. There's great chemistry between the two, and the dialogue feels very natural as well, which is testament to Andy Mitton's skills as a screenwriter. It's a very lean film. It's just under an hour and 20 minutes, an hour and 17, I think. But that gives plenty of time for exposition and to establish the narrative, for character development, and for some of those good scares I was talking about before. A key theme is the unconditional love between parent and child, specifically between father and son. And the film plays heavily on the sort of things that scare parents, things that they will tell or choose not to tell their kids, things they hide from their kids, and ultimately the sacrifices they are prepared to make for the greater good and to keep their children safe. It reminds me a bit of the recent adaptation of The Haunting of Hill House by Mike Flanagan, which is currently streaming on Netflix, at least in the UK, in that it's obviously a haunted house film, but the calibre of the storytelling and the fact that there's a real emotional core around the family and their plight, for me, is what sets this apart from the other countless horror films we get year on year. And yeah, I did find it scary, but I think it's hard to maintain scares if you don't give a shit about the characters. And the most affecting horrors for me are the ones that don't rely solely on the horror just to keep you watching. And having said that, there are some legitimate scares, and that's another reason I liken it to Hill House. There are a few moments throughout the film where something is going on in the background that you as a viewer can see, but the characters can't, which Hill House infinitely did several times per episode with their hidden ghosts. They're more obvious here because it's a more integral part of the story than with Hill House, but you might blink and miss some of them if you're not paying attention even early on. One of the things that drew me to this horror film in the first place was the poster, which scared me just by looking at it. And some of the imagery used in the film is just as on point for fans of paranormal horror. Now, there were other supernatural elements about this I found scary, other scenes I found scary, and I'm being very careful not to spoil anything, but there's one scene in particular later in the film where one of the characters has a moment of realisation, like an epiphany, at the same time you do as a viewer. You both find out this thing at the same time, and it's one of the most chilling scenes that I can recall from any movie I've seen in recent years. Carol Stanzioni plays the titular witch, so-called witch, and I don't want to discuss her character too much for spoiler reasons, but she manages to bring huge menace to the role with the screen time she's given. You can watch it on Shudder, and it's available to buy on DVD, again, at least in the UK. Please check it out and show your support to the horror community by paying for it. Hit me up if you would like to discuss it. I love interacting with you can leave me a comment on here and I'll reply, or reach me on Twitter. I'm at SteamboatBricky. Charlie Tacker and Andy Mitton are also both on Twitter, so you should go and tell them how much you enjoyed it. Thank you very much.